Maybe your life looks fine from the outside. You get up. You answer messages. You go to work or school. You laugh at the appropriate moments. Perhaps you have friends, a relationship, a stable income, or plans for the future. Nothing is obviously falling apart. And yet, underneath all of it, there's a strange emptiness. Not always sadness, not necessarily pain, just an absence. Like you're physically present in your own life, but emotionally standing a few feet away from it. You may even feel guilty about this. My life isn't that bad, so why don't I feel better? If that question sounds familiar, this video is for you. Because emptiness doesn't always mean your life's a bit broken. Sometimes it means you've become disconnected from yourself while building a life that looks perfectly functional. And understanding that difference can change everything. Most people expect emotional struggles to look dramatic. They imagine constant crying, missed deadlines, ruined relationships, or being unable to get out of bed. But many people who feel empty are still highly functional. They continue performing. They complete tasks, meet expectations, and keep conversations moving. They may even become the person everyone else depends on. That's partly why emptiness can be so difficult to recognize. There may be no visible crisis, only the quiet feeling that nothing reaches you anymore. You achieve something, and the satisfaction disappears almost immediately. You spend time with people, but still feel alone. You finally get a chance to rest, yet you don't know what to do with yourself. You scroll, watch, eat, shop, work, or stay constantly occupied, not because these things feel especially good, but because silence feels worse. This can create a confusing contradiction. Your life contains many of the things that are supposed to make you happy, but you don't feel connected to any of them. Why does that happen? One possibility is that you've spent too long living through roles. The good student, the responsible child, the dependable friend, the successful employee, the easygoing partner, the person who never makes things difficult. Roles aren't inherently bad. They help us understand our responsibilities and function in relationships. But trouble begins when a role stops being something you do and becomes the only person you're allowed to be. Maybe you learned early that being loved meant being useful. You received approval when you achieved, helped, behaved, or stayed quiet. So you became skilled at reading what other people needed from you. You learned how to avoid disappointing them. But perhaps no one taught you to ask a simpler question. What do I actually feel? After years of adjusting yourself to expectations, that question can become surprisingly difficult to answer. You may know what would make your parents proud. You may know what your partner wants or what your workplace rewards, but your own preferences feel faint and inaccessible. You didn't intentionally abandon yourself. You adapted, and that adaptation may have helped you succeed. But if your entire life is organized around external expectations, success can still feel strangely empty. Because the person receiving the reward no longer feels completely like you. Emptiness can also appear when your life contains stimulation, but lacks meaning. Modern life gives us endless ways to fill our attention. There is always another notification, video, podcast, purchase, goal, or controversy. Boredom can be eliminated within seconds. But removing boredom is not the same as creating fulfillment. Stimulation keeps your mind occupied. Meaning makes an experience matter to you. And the two can feel very similar in the moment. Both can produce excitement. Both can pull you forward. But Stimulation fades as soon as the activity ends, leaving you hungry for the next thing. Meaning stays with you. It might come from caring for someone, making something, learning deeply, serving a cause, practicing a craft, or living according to a value you genuinely chose. Meaning doesn't always feel exciting. Sometimes it feels difficult, slow, or ordinary. But it gives your effort a direction. Without that direction, life can become a sequence of distractions, separated by moments of emptiness. You're not doing nothing. In fact, you may be doing far too much. But very little of it feels emotionally significant. Another cause of emptiness is emotionally suppression. Some people don't feel empty because they have no emotions. They feel empty because they've been holding too many emotions back for too long. The mind cannot always suppress selectively. You might try to avoid grief, anger, fear, or disappointment. But over time, joy, curiosity, affection, and excitement can also become harder to access. The emotional volume gets turned down across the entire system. Perhaps you grew up in an environment where certain emotions were inconvenient. Anger was disrespectful. Sadness was weakness. Fear was embarrassing. Having needs made you demanding. So you learned to say, "It's fine." You said it when you were hurt. You said it when someone crossed a boundary. You said it when you were exhausted, disappointed, or lonely. And eventually, "I'm fine" stopped being a description and became a survival strategy. But unexpressed emotions don't necessarily disappear. They can remain in the body as tension, exhaustion, irritability, restlessness, or there's another uncomfortable possibility. Perhaps you achieved what you were chasing. There's another uncomfortable possibility. Perhaps you achieved what you were chasing. For years you told yourself that everything would feel different once you graduated, found a partner, moved somewhere new, earned more money, changed your body, or reached a particular level of success. The goal gave your life structure. It allowed you to tolerate the present because you believed fulfillment was waiting in the future. Then you reached it. And after a brief moment of relief or excitement, you still felt like yourself. This can be deeply disorienting. When a dream fails, you can blame the failure. But when the dream comes true and you still feel empty, you're forced to question the promise behind it. Maybe the goal was never really yours. Maybe it solved a practical problem, but couldn't heal an emotional one. Or maybe you expected an achievement to provide a permanent feeling that no achievement can provide. Human beings adapt quickly. What once felt extraordinary becomes normal. Psychologists sometimes call this hedonic adaptation. The promotion becomes your regular job. The new apartment becomes the place where laundry piles up. The exciting relationship becomes a real relationship involving vulnerability, conflict, and routine. This doesn't make those things worthless. It simply means they cannot carry the entire weight of your emotional life. A good life cannot be built from milestones alone. Most of it happens between them. Emptiness can also be the result of living in a permanent state of preparation. You keep waiting for real life to begin. You'll relax after this deadline. You'll be creative when you have more time. You'll see your friends when work calms down. You'll become yourself when circumstances finally cooperate. But circumstances rarely cooperate for long. There is always another problem to solve. And without realizing it, you begin treating the present as a waiting room. Your days become valuable only because of what they might eventually produce. Meals become fuel. Sleep becomes maintenance. Hobbies become unproductive. Conversations become interruptions. You are constantly moving toward life without actually inhabiting it. Then, during a quiet moment, you notice how little you can feel. This is one reason emptiness often becomes louder during weekends, holidays, or late at night. Activity was covering it. When the activity stops, the disconnection becomes visible. That doesn't mean staying busy is wrong. It means busyness can sometimes function as anesthesia. So, what can you do? The instinctive response is to search for something big enough to fill the emptiness. A dramatic change, a new relationship, a different city, a more ambitious goal. Sometimes change really is necessary, but emptiness is rarely filled by adding more noise to a life you already feel disconnected from. A better place to begin is with attention. Instead of immediately asking, how do I make this feeling go away? Try asking, what might this feeling be telling me? Emptiness is not always an enemy. Sometimes it's information. It may be telling you that you're exhausted from performing, that you miss genuine connection, that you haven't grieved something, that your daily life conflicts with your values, that you've been giving more than you can sustain, or that you no longer know what you want because you haven't asked yourself in years. You don't need to produce a perfect answer immediately. Start smaller. During the next few days, notice the moments when you feel slightly more present. Not ecstatic, just present. Maybe it happens while walking without your phone, while talking honestly with one particular person, while cooking, drawing, exercising, reading, praying, fixing something, sitting outdoors, or listening to music without doing anything else. These moments are clues. Fulfillment often returns quietly. Before you feel passionate, you may feel interested. Before you feel joyful, you may feel calm. Before you find a grand purpose, you may simply notice that one activity feels a little more real than the others. Follow what makes you feel more alive, even if the signal is faint. It can also help to practice emotional honesty. In manageable doses, you don't have to reveal everything to everyone. Start by telling the truth to yourself. Instead of, I'm fine, try naming the experience more precisely. I'm disappointed. I feel lonely around these people. I'm angry that I agreed to this. I'm afraid I've chosen the wrong direction. I'm tired of being needed. I don't know what I want. Naming a feeling doesn't solve it, but it gives the feeling a shape. And something with a shape can be understood. You might write these thoughts down, speak them aloud when you're alone, or share them with someone trustworthy. The goal isn't to analyze yourself endlessly. It's to rebuild contact with your inner experience. You can also experiment with small acts of preference. Choose a meal because you want it, not because it's efficient or impressive. Say no without inventing an elaborate excuse. Spend an hour on something that doesn't improve your resume. Let yourself dislike something other people enjoy. These choices might seem insignificant, but if you've spent years overriding yourself, every honest preference is a way of returning. Connection matters too, but not merely being around people. You can have dozens of conversations and still feel unseen if none of them contain anything true. Genuine connection requires some degree of risk. Someone has to go first and say, but one honest conversation can be more nourishing than weeks of polite interaction. And if the emptiness is persistent, worsening, or affecting your ability to function, consider speaking with a mental health professional. Emotional numbness or emptiness can sometimes accompany depression, trauma, burnout, grief, or other treatable conditions. You don't need to wait until your life looks like an emergency before asking for support. Everything looks fine is not proof that everything feels fine. Your internal experience matters, even when other people can't see it. Finally, don't turn healing into another performance. You don't need the perfect morning routine, a new identity, or a dramatic transformation. You aren't a defective machine that needs to become more productive. You may simply be a person who has spent too long disconnected from their feelings, needs, relationships, or values. Returning to yourself will probably happen through repetition, not revelation. One honest answer, one boundary, one meaningful conversation, one quiet hour without escaping, one decision that belongs to you. The emptiness may not vanish all at once, but gradually your life can begin to feel inhabited again. Not perfect, not constantly happy, just real. And maybe that's the deeper truth. Feeling fulfilled doesn't mean feeling good every moment. It means being present for the full experience of your life. Joy and grief, certainty and confusion, connection and solitude. So, if everything looks fine, but you still feel empty, don't shame yourself for being ungrateful. Get curious. The emptiness may not be saying that there is nothing inside you. It may be saying that some part of you has been unheard for a very long time. And now, finally, you're quiet enough to listen.